And with the first pick in the NFL draft, Gridiron Junkeez selects George Martin Carmona as the podcast host to penetrate your ear holes on this fabulous Wednesday in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm George Carmona, obviously, drafted first by Gridiron Junkeez. That's why I am your host. If you like football content, high school football content, college football content, NFL football content, any type of football content, you follow at Gridiron Junkeez. Today, I got Bobby behind the decks once again. Say what's up to the people, Bobby.
What's up? How's everybody doing?
Everyone's doing phenomenal. I would imagine that when the sun starts staying out longer, everybody is suddenly just a little more happier, right? They've done researches to find out that like the people that live in Alaska and it's never nighttime, that like their serotonin levels are a little bit higher because they're getting maximum vitamin D from our Lord and Savior, right?
I believe it.
So once the sun's out, right, football is still in the works, right? People are thinking springtime baseball, springtime NBA playoffs, springtime a little hockey, which never has made sense for me. Hockey's championship should always be played in the wintertime. Like, theoretically speaking, it almost should be football finishes towards like the middle of the summer. I don't know. Neither here nor there. If I was to replicate the schedule that I would like for all sports, it would definitely not have like hockey and basketball lineup. I want a little bit of separation, right? I don't want them to be the same exact, but this is not about them. This is about me telling you why you should be excited about the NFL draft that's happening, right? So this is what some people would consider the biggest day in football, other than the Super Bowl, to find out who actually was the big winner. But you can be a big winner here and have a shit team, right? I think my favorite news story that's played over the last since I've been born with drafts is like the draft grade, right? It's like the Lions went 0-16, but next year they had an A+ draft grade. It's like, no shit, dude. They got the number 1 pick. They also traded up to get the number 6 pick. Like, draft grades, when we're looking at the players, it doesn't mean that's exactly the way that they're going to pan out. It just means that recency bias states that because they had a good college football season last year, that they are in turn going to be a successful NFL player. Now, for a majority of big time NFL players that have been drafted in the first round, I mean, you'll see that, they have a huge impact to the team automatically, but there's other draft pick or other teams with later round draft picks that, after a season or two, you start realizing like, whoa, this 5th round guy who actually had like a crappy senior year of college football, or maybe, got injured, all of a sudden is just really good. And it's like, no, they've always been really good, except when you were giving your draft grade, you were completely honeydicked by their last season stats. Now, the NFL draft, I said, is approaching. And there's one player, and that's what this episode is about today, as you can see in the thumbnail and the title. Stetson Bennett, the 4th, the Georgia Bulldogs quarterback for the last 4 years. He started the last 2 seasons, right? And in the last 2 seasons, this 25-year-old has taken his team to back-to-back national titles, a 28-1 record in those 2 years. And I want to know, in a culture that values championships so much, how can a player like Stetson Bennett legitimately fall off the face of the earth when it comes time for the draft, right? And it's like, is it just that he doesn't fit the mold? Is he too old, right? So a lot of NFL executives, and this has been in multiple reports that I read leading up to this episode, they were talking about that his off-the-field antics, recency bias, right? Remember I talked about that earlier. His off-the-field antics recently have made us feel like he is not the type of quarterback that we want to move forward with. Off-the-field issues. Off-the-field issues, and, not to mention that he's 25 years old, but other than the off-the-field issues, all these NFL executives say that it does not matter. Quarterback's one of those positions where it does not matter how old you are, because especially the rules have shifted 100% to protecting the quarterbacks at all cost, and we've literally witnessed our favorite quarterbacks of this past generation play up until absurd years. I don't need to state how old Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, all these people end up playing, right? They play a long time. So age to me is but a number, my friend. And it should not be reflected in a player's draft stock or value at the quarterback position. Other positions, yeah, no, I want the young bucks that are, they haven't been hit as much, and, we can kind of make the NFL's name make sense, right? Not for long, right? We're going to put you in for 3 years. We're going to beat the shit out of you, and then we're going to send you packing. But we're talking about Stetson Bennett, a person that if you have just been a casual college football watcher, you've seen a lot of this man. He's won back-to-back national titles. He's played in SEC championship games, which he was 1 for 2. He lost to Alabama his junior year, and then he went back and proceeded to crush Alabama in the national championship game. So it's interesting to me that a person who's a casual name for people that really aren't bought into college football, but you'll be like, oh, who's that guy? All right, Stetson Bennett, the fourth. Whenever a player has any sort of Roman numeral after his name, just automatically more rememberable, right? I would say Willie Snead, right? Willie Snead the fourth, memorable, all right? I can't think of any other ones like off the top of my head right now. But you just know when you see them that, there's lineage behind their success, right? And we're talking about the fourth Bennett, who has played college football. His grandpa played college football. His dad played college football. Stetson Bennett goes to lead the Georgia Bulldogs to back-to-back national titles. And then we're 1 week away from the draft, and he is nowhere to be found on anybody's draft board. Or if they are looking at him, we're talking extremely late in the draft, could quite possibly go undrafted. And that's why I'm making this episode, because let's dissect that off-the-field incident that happened January 29th, 20 days after Stetson Bennett wins his second national title, right? Right in the high of all highs. At that moment in time, I would imagine college, if you didn't care about college to that point, after you win your second national title, like you really don't, like, bro, you're going to the league. All right. You've led a team to multiple championships. You're a superstar in your own right. If you're an NBA player, I don't even thought about the last time a college basketball player went back to back. I'll tell you, actually, it was Joakim Noah and the Florida Gators back in 08, 07. That was like the vicious Florida Gators team. But it's very memorable. He's a legend, but he has this off the field incident January 29th in which he is arrested in Dallas, Texas for public intoxication. So I just want to decipher this because I struggle to wrap my head around this. Texas, all right, out of all states to get arrested for public intoxication, I figured it would be impossible to get arrested for that in Texas. Like, Bobby, you used to live there in Texas?
I used to live in Houston, yep.
Okay, so he got arrested in Dallas, but I would imagine the rumors kind of reign true for all of Texas, right? It's a fun, free-loving city. where if a bar fight happens, there might not be cops called. Am I hearing this wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. But
Okay.
if you don't know Texas, Texas is humongous. And there's those little mom, pop, podunk towns in the middle of nowhere where I'm sure you could fight the sheriff and you'll shake hands and you'll go home. And you'll see him on church Sunday morning with your Sunday hat. But big metropolitan cities like Houston are very similar to New York City, LA. It's the third biggest city in the world. So
Got you.
They're going to obviously go out and do their job. But
For sure.
if you don't know, you could literally feel like you're in a different country if you drive 3 hours.
This is all feed into my point right now, Bobby, right? Where it's like, it's the culture, right? It's its own, they're the Lone Star for a reason, right? They want to separate themselves and they want to feel different. But let's go back to who he beat 20 days prior to him being arrested. And if you tell me that does not play a huge factor into his ass getting arrested, you are, as I said in a previous episode, clinically insane. If I was a Texas lover and I witnessed Stetson Bennett absolutely thrash TCU in the national title game, and Corpus Christi, I don't know how far away it is from Dallas, but I would imagine all of Texas that day was like, Texas needs to win a national title. Texas football needs to be back on the map. And this 25-year-old ex-walk-on for the Georgia Bulldogs goes and spanks that ass. 20 days later, he gets arrested for public intoxication. Where? In Texas. So, not saying it doesn't hold weight. That people were saying he was banging on doors and shit. He was probably feeling himself, okay? If I won 2 national titles and I was 25 years old, definitely not in class, okay? Like, I'm not going, all right? I am going to the NFL. It's done. It's stamped. I'm getting big-time paydays. He's already getting big-time paydays as it is already with the whole NIL thing. But I found that to be extremely interesting, right? And don't let this recency bias play in to your team deciding whether or not Stetson Bennett is the right move. I think he is, for a lot of reasons, okay? Obviously, very tough to play in the SEC. Everyone talks about it every year. Oh my gosh, the SEC football, it's just completely different. I agree, right? If you were to look at a chart, in which I'm going to find the chart and insert it right here, this chart shows that the majority of national titles won in the last 20 years has come from the SEC area, right? All that being said, really good college football, all right? He's gone 2 seasons with a 28-1 record. He's thrown for 8,428 yards, 66 touchdowns. Now, the one number that I was like, 21 interceptions. So he's like a 1-to-3 touchdown interception ratio. And in college, sometimes you get these players that have absurd touchdown interception ratios because their team slings the rock. They never turn the ball over because they're playing dog shit opponents. And your stats just don't look the same, right? But keep this in mind every time that you hear somebody say, because this is something that was said on a show in which my brother was on, The American Fan. I love you to death, but I think this point is so stupid. This point was that I would way rather have a quarterback that comes from a small football conference in which they don't have all the talented first-round draft pick players around them to make them look better. They are willing a team to success, and I will want that player to lead my NFL team. To which I say, are you stupid? All right? If I just showed you, I'm going to put up the chart again. All these national titles are won in this area. And you're telling me that you want to put a hope out on a player coming out of Conference USA or some weak-ass conference to lead your NFL team. Now, let's just see. I know that everyone's probably going to leave the comments, right? Josh Allen, all right? Josh Allen is he's from Mountain West, right? Wyoming, tough quarterback. Right? He's doing it for the Bills right now. To which I say that's a dime a dozen. They're all coming from these big time conferences. And why would you rather take a Will Levis? Why would you rather take a Hendon Hooker over a person, or Anthony Richardson over a person that beat them in every single game? And I know quarterbacks don't play against quarterbacks, but you get where I'm coming from here. There's one thing that people fail to look at that I don't, because it's a prime factor in determining your longevity of success, is how lucky are you? Luck plays a huge factor into winning 2 national titles, without a doubt. Okay. Now, are you his luck's run out, right? He isn't championship level anymore. I don't think so. I think that championship players and championships itself breed its own type of identity, right? You can have a Tom Brady in the regular season, but then there's always been that saying, playoff Tom Brady, Super Bowl Tom Brady, right? Because he had built a character in championship-like games. Now, the people that I had stated that are probably definitely going to be drafted before Stetson Bennett do not have any sort of championship pedigree, integrity. They don't know what that character looks like, right? And it's going to be a complete shift once they get into the NFL. I want to now just go over a couple of the players, right? So I said SEC stuff. He's played against Keely Ringo his entire career at Georgia. Keely Ringo is going to be the highest or one of the highest corners taken in this upcoming draft. People are saying like maybe early second round. Stetson Bennett played against this guy every single day at practice. That's why I bring up Keely Ringo. People will be like, oh, you never played against Keely. No. He played against him every single day. That makes you better. When you have somebody who's going to go make an immediate NFL impact lining up against your receivers day in and day out, you're going to get better. The speed of the game is there. If you watch the SEC compared to other types of college football, you will see that it's just faster. The players, the movements, everything that is SEC football, it's the closest connotation to the NFL. He's played against Jordan Battle, who's going to be a late third-round pick for Alabama. Dude's stocky, right? Like Jordan Battle's one of the safeties in this next draft that I'm feeling Isaiah Simmons vibes, where he looks like a linebacker, but he's as fast as the Tyreek Hill types, right? Where he's just, how do we have these type of humans nowadays, Bobby? Like, I literally don't know. It went from being you were either a corn-fed Nebraskan offensive lineman or you weren't making it to the NFL. And now it's like these kids are they're in these, not the 7-on-7s I don't want to give credit to, but they are in these weight training systems at like age 8. And you can definitely tell that this player has been in the weight room way longer than everybody else. This player has been training on his speed way longer than anybody else. And it makes me a little scared because I love sports, and I want my kid obviously to be good at sports. I mean, what dad would be like, I just want my son to be average? No, like I will now guide whoever my kid is into the right direction, right? Like genetics tell us that some of these sports, like baseball, you're perfectly fit for, right? But football, you might be capped out at height, all right? Not everyone could be Uncle Junior, 6'6" refrigerator. All right. But we will make that pivot and adjustment when we get there. But what I say is like, I'm terrified, Bobby, because I'm like, how much money am I going to have to spend for my kid to have a hope? Like it used to just be, I'm going to I remember signing up for like flag football and all those little youth sports. And it was like $150 for the season. And now $150 gets you into a game. Like
it's a whole different world now.
It's thoroughly
back. I graduated almost 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And our Jackson Memorial High School went to states and won like 4 years in a row. That year that the seniors graduated, they didn't win again for like a decade because they had big guys and then it was just small, regular people. But nowadays, everybody's a tank.
Yeah, no, it's shifted. I mean, it's human evolution before our eyes, right? And this is just like if we look at the 70 or 80-year window, athletes' bodies have changed the whole landscape of the world. Because I know we're getting really philosophical with this, and I feel like I've explained my point enough. Stetson Bennett needs to be picked up in the draft. And if your team is looking over him because he got forcefully arrested in Texas because he whooped TCU's ass for public intoxication on 20th, he's still a champion. Draft the kid.
Can we not forget that they're kids too? And you're going to live, bro. And I'm not agreeing with him. I'm a father, but I was in Germany in the Army. We went out and had a good time. Yep. We're all humans. It does not mean that they cannot perform at the level they need to perform.
Correct. And that's the big separating factor, right? All I'm evaluating Stetson Bennett on right now, other than luck being part of his characteristic trait, I'm just evaluating his football playing abilities, and he's a pretty good football player. He fits the mold for a lot of these NFL teams that are that RPO style. He's got some wheels to him. I mean, he proved it in the national title game where he kept a couple of the reads, and it's like, you know, although they're looking at they're now going to hammer him down for the size comparison, 5'11", I'm like, you can get it done, dude. Now you don't have to be 6'3" to slang the rock. All right, the greatest Saints quarterback of all time was right at that same level. That Stetson Bennett and Drew Brees, if they don't have like the identical prototype, then I don't know what you're looking at. Like, they are identical. So draft the kid. And with that being said, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to talk about Stetson Bennett. I wanted to, I did have a clip of Stetson Bennett. And now it's actually so funny. Bobby, I haven't even listened to this clip yet. So if you want to just go ahead and put it on the screen for us, click it, make it full screen. Let's see. This is after he was arrested. And this is the combine, like, media row.
Can I make a quick comment?
Yeah.
As almost 40 years old, if I was a coach somewhere, you could say to the latter that it was disappointing that it happened, but the kid might have learned his lesson that a lot of kids did not learn, that may mess up later, and he's not gonna now because he knows the consequences.
Correct.
So it could be a benefit.
Correct. I love that point. So let's see what he has to say for himself.
No. Those were individual mistakes that those individuals are responsible for. Not culture issue.
Could you play your situation in Dallas and your arrest? What happened that evening?
Yeah, it was, a mistake that, everybody's aware of. I understand, why that can't happen. It was, I've talked to coaches about it, talked to GMs, apologize to my family. That's who I, felt worse about. Felt like I let them down, because no matter where I go now, and even without all this, I've got an obligation on the 4th, can't do that if your last name's Bennett.
All right, so let's dissect that, because this is another thing that people were going. So I read this article. That's what this entire episode was about. I think it was from the Fanatic Report, and I want to find that person's name who wrote the article, because this clip goes out to you. You were being very, very critical of him in his answer of saying, a Bennett can't do this. Like, I'm the 4th. I have like a tradition, or like I have a legacy that lives beyond me being like the first or something, right? He's had a lineage of people named his exact name. So, one, I know how my brother feels, like, and he's named after my father. And that's in a weird sense, like, you're already put at a higher, people expect more out of you, right? If you're going to be a junior, if you're going to be a 3rd, if you're going to be a 4th, people expect more out of you. So for him to say that, he truthfully meant it. And this person who wrote the article was like, it's a little egotistical to just look over the fact and say that, it's not if you were named something different, how would this incident have played out, right? Like if you weren't a Bennett, you know what I mean? Like this is why teams are overlooking you. And it's like, bro, you are doing exactly what I'm doing here, right? Trying to get the views, trying to get the clicks. But I want you to reanalyze it just a little bit in 3 years when Stetson Bennett is getting ready for an NFC or AFC championship game. And you're like, I feel like I was a little harsh on the kid that's like trying to leave a legacy for his name in a good light. I hope you think about that. I really do. All right. I'm George Martin Carmona. You can follow me at Mr. George Carmona on Instagram. You can follow me at Mr. George Carmona on TikTok as well. If you like football content, every Wednesday, I am doing a football show. Sometimes it's a little short dives. I cannot wait till we get back into the season flow and we can start talking about some outlooks as to what teams look like going into the 2024 season. It's been a pleasure. Bobby behind the decks. Make sure you guys go follow Fight Junkeez. This entire episode was brought to you by Fight Junkeez. Mondays and Thursdays, giving you the best MMA and UFC and boxing content out there. This is recorded at Sticky Paws Studios. Everybody at Sticky Paws Studios is amazing. The studio keeps growing. So if you are following deeper than just I wanted to hear Stetson Bennett news, the place that I am currently recording at is on a trajectory to the fucking moon. So you want to go ahead and follow at Sticky Paws Studios on all platforms and watch as this team right next to Elon, right? We're going to be like, Elon's on his way to the moon. And then we're just like, play the fucking Sticky Paws stinger. We're out of here.